Hey, it's Brett and Coach, and today I am downtown Chicago heading to Union Station because we are jumping on the Amtrak Borealis line, but we're not going all the way to Minneapolis where it ends. We're getting off at Milwaukee and spending the weekend there. So let's make it to Union Station here in downtown Chicago. And if you ever have time just to wander around downtown Chicago, do it. You get to see Calder's Flamingo, Chicago Board of Trade, and even Sears Tower, but you really can't miss that one. And another way to see the city in a cool way downtown is just take one of the CTA lines that runs basically in the street directly above it, called the elevated tracks for a reason. I recommend either the purple or the brown line since it makes a complete loop around the loop. I sure hope it does. But let's actually make it to Union Station by passing by Sears Tower, as well as crossing the river. Let me know if you ever want me to take a boat tour or explore Sears Tower for a video. But no time to stop, we're on a time crunch, so let's head in to Union Station for the Amtrak train. And welcome to the Great Hall of Union Station. And even if you don't have a train ticket, I would recommend stopping in just to see it. It is perfect for people watching. We wish we could explore it a little bit more, but we do have a train to catch. And the train is currently starting to board, so we really have to get going to our gate. Looks like a lot of the Amtrak section of the station is under construction. Wonder what the timeline is for that. By the time we found the gate to board, the line was very much moving. Now let's get on the train. You heard the Bert, let's actually get on the train. And the platform itself is super neat with one train on each side. And this Amtrak train does not assign seats, so I got settled in with Brian sitting directly behind me. And we aren't sitting directly next to each other because the train is actually sold out of tickets and completely full. Before we get too far into our journey, let's do a seat tour. But similarly to my airline reviews, let's start with the tray table. I find it to be a decent size, clean, and it even extends towards you. And there's air conditioning directly above you that you can adjust as well. But no dedicated quiet car leads to a lot of loud talking. And on the back of the seat there is a pocket for storage and a little bit of room for a backpack under the seat. The seat itself is a decent width and the whole train is very clean, with no trash or crumbs. And whatever you choose not to store under your seat, there's overhead storage available too. In the meantime, we were well on our way, headed to Milwaukee, with only a few stops in between. But let's get back to the seat tour. And as you can see, the seat itself had plenty of cushion to it. But I will say when it comes to the armrest, I would say it's a little bit lower and smaller than my liking. But the headrest is perfect, I enjoyed it a lot, very comfortable overall. And there wasn't any form of entertainment screen like on most airplanes, but looking out the window was enough for me. And my neighbor got up and moved around a little bit. I think he ran to the cafe car, so I got a chance to look at his seat. It is very similar to mine, which isn't a big surprise. Same comfiness for sure. So you really can't go wrong with any seat you choose. And on the train there are 2 outlets per seat if you need to charge any devices. But we were soon actually rolling into our first stop, which is located in Glenview, which the train only stopped for a minute or 2 at most. But soon enough, we were back at top speed, but don't worry, this clip is sped up to 200% just to show a little bit more of the scenery. The train doesn't go this fast by any means. And actually soon enough, the conductor was actually getting the train ready for another stop to let passengers off. This time we'll be stopping in Sturtevant. And I would estimate we're about 45 minutes into this train ride, which is about 2 hours total. And I checked in on Brian directly behind me, but he seemed too lost into his phone to really pay attention. But only a few moments later, we were actually stopped at Sturtevant, again for only a moment or 2 before the train decided to take off.
Alright, attention passengers, that was Sturtevant. Up next, General Mitchell Airport. The airport coming up next in about 15 minutes. Airport coming up next, about 15 minutes.
And then the conductor was coming by to scan tickets, which was on our phone via QR code. And after my ticket was checked, I decided to head back to the cafe car, wandering all the way back to see what they have to offer. And they had plenty of options ranging from snacks to actual full meals to drinks, alcohol, and a lot of things in between. but I would just recommend grabbing your own snacks before you board. I just grabbed a sweet tea just so I could sip on something while I go back to staring out the window. And right now would be the perfect time to hit the subscribe button if you aren't already subscribed. I'm a little bummed that we're actually not on the train longer than we are, because I think watching out the window is beautiful just to see the countryside. And let me know in the comments below how long you think you could handle a train ride, and if I should actually take the Borealis line all the way to Minneapolis from Chicago. And I didn't film the stop at the airport. It was pretty much similar to the other two, but soon enough we were actually pulling into downtown Milwaukee, meaning our trip was actually coming to an end. But for the rest of the passengers that aren't getting off at Milwaukee, I believe it would be another 4 hours or so to make it all the way to Minneapolis, making the train over 6 hours if you decide to take it the entire route. And before I actually stepped off the train, I took a peek in the bathroom, which seemed okay for a train bathroom. I really haven't used one. But it was time to disembark and head into Milwaukee's Intermodal station. And I will say this train is much longer than I expected. I fully don't know how many cars there actually are. But for now, we have to say goodbye to the train and head inside. And just like that, it was a very quick 2-hour train, but we are here in Milwaukee. And I wasn't able to film too much on it just because Brian and I weren't sitting next to each other and I didn't have a window. And I just wanted to be respectful to the person next to me since we weren't sitting next to each other. I didn't want to invade his space with any filming. So with that, first piece of advice if you're going to jump on the train, get there early. Granted, you only are able to board so many minutes before, but Brian and I were running a touch behind, so we didn't actually get to sit together. So definitely get there early and try to be one of the first people in line so you can actually sit together if you're traveling as partners or more. So another reason why Brian and I couldn't sit together is because the train was actually full. Every seat was booked, which it makes sense because it was going from Chicago all the way up to Minneapolis. It cuts through places like Milwaukee, Wisconsin Dells, La Crosse, and a bunch of stops in between. We actually had 4 stops from just Chicago to Milwaukee. It was Chicago, obviously, Glenview, Sturtevant, Milwaukee's airport, and then the downtown intermodal station. I also fully did not expect a cafe car, just because I know on the Hiawatha, that is just specifically Chicago to Milwaukee and back, there is no cafe car. It does make sense that this is going all the way to Minneapolis, that there is a way to actually get some food, drink, and adult beverages if you like. And when I walked in there, it was fairly busy. All the seats were taken, but I feel like it was a little bit on the pricey side because 2 drinks was about $5.50. And they asked for a tip, which just buying drinks, I think it's okay to decline on that. The train itself, fairly clean. I didn't go to the bathroom, but I peeked into it twice, and you can definitely tell it's outdated by a little bit. I wouldn't necessarily use it, but it is there. It is functional. The seat itself, very comfortable. A lot of padding. I could probably ride it for a couple more hours without having any back issues or anything like that. You are able to put your bags in the overhead compartments. I just opted to set mine on the floor, so I didn't have a whole lot of leg room, but you definitely have options. It isn't an airplane, so you can get up at any point. There is no seatbelt sign or anything like that. There wasn't even seatbelts on the train. It is a little weird that I almost expected like a safety briefing like an airplane would, but no, there was just nothing, which, I mean, makes it easy. A lot less stressful because there's no chance of you falling out of the sky when you're on the train. And I think the tracks are there long enough that I'm not too worried about derailment either. Didn't even cross my mind. Also, I would say the train was a perfect temperature. The AC was definitely working, so a lot of air movement, and it wasn't stale, which was kind of a concern just with an older train like that. So obviously, like I said, Brian and I didn't sit together. I had no clue who the guy was next to me, but the only thing we said to each other was that partway through, he said, if you ever want to charge your phone, let me know. And I just went, okay, thanks. Whole interaction, couldn't ask for better. This has been Brett and Coach reviewing the Amtrak Borealis from Chicago to Milwaukee. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And next video will be me actually exploring Milwaukee, so stay tuned. I will see you then.